The 20th of November is Trans Day of Remembrance. It falls on the same day every year, and it's quite an important day for trans people and people who care about trans people to commemorate those of us who've died, either through suicide or murder over the years. And it's a big number. I've seen people posting online and last year saying that they don't see the importance of this and complaining about the amount of exposure that trans people have had recently in the media and in the news, and also, as you might expect, a fair amount of intolerance and nastiness and jeering and so on towards trans people, which, on a day of remembrance is just, yeah. So I wanted to make a thing, just to say why, hopefully to pinpoint why this is important, if that's not evident in itself already. So yeah, if you think it's worthy of sharing, share it, and also in the description I'm going to post a list of names. I'll look at those. So here it is. When I came out as transgender, my mum cried. Except the tears in her eyes didn't come from prejudice or hatred or shame. She was scared. And rightly so. I come from a family who love me to no end. From the outset, I knew that if it all got too much for my tired head, at home I'd always have a bed to crawl into and hide from it all. And I did. And I hid from responsibilities, and that's what privilege afforded me. Had I not had that option, I don't know where or if I would now be. I live in a country that is more or less accepting, at least I can go to the loo without too much fear that this could be my last day here. And my transition is supported by a healthcare system bringing me valuable treatments that elsewhere would be too dear. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I struggle to get from day to day, things boiling up inside me and coming my way from the streets and the screens and the actions and words of people all over the world who want to tell me that I am less. But if you looked at the surroundings, the lives of all trans people, then looked back at mine, you'd say that I'm blessed. Here's some responsibly sourced facts. First of all, in the States, 700,000 people identify as trans. And no, being trans is not a choice. Okay, in Britain, 10% of trans people have been inpatients in mental health units. 40% of trans folk have frequently been excluded by peers. 30% excluded from family events with family members who won't even talk to them. 30% have been turned away by healthcare professionals for issues regarding their gender. 32% of those who have been to gender clinics have had to wait 1 to 3 years just to get seen. 62% have been subject to transphobic harassment from strangers in public. 90% have had the same from people they work with. 14% have been harassed by the police for being trans. 81% avoid some public situations. Scared shitless, half of those people avoid toilets and gyms. And sure, they're quite safe here in the UK, but it's worthwhile to say that in NC, USA, it's state law. Trans folk are banned from toilets whose signs don't correspond with the letter F or M in the box marked gender on their birth certificate. And the conditions that prisons present could be spoken about for days. I'm just going to say that in the States, 47% of black trans people say they've been incarcerated, and 40% of all trans prisoners say they've been sexually assaulted. 84% have at some point considered taking their own life.
An average of 1.6 people have attempted suicide. Moving on, for trans folk, that number rises to 41. 41%. And the going rate for self-inflicted fatalities tallies 50 times higher if you're trans. And what about those inflicted by others? The wide world has blood on its hands, because if you're trans, it's a 1 in 12 chance that you're going to get killed. And what if you're a trans person of colour? That chance rises to 1 in 8. And as you can see, in a world filled with trans hate, this is no Windorama or Grief Brigade. I'm not fabricating a gram of drama. These points need to be made, so when you hear the words Trans Day of Remembrance, don't ridicule or complain. Be glad that you're comfortably far away from these figures growing day by day of trans people dying in unthinkable ways. Just shut up and spare a moment, okay?